Puer Aeternus, also known as the Divine Child, is an archetype suggested by Carl Jung, the 19th century founder of analytical psychology. Jungian archetypes are the elements of our collective unconsciousness thought to be shaped by history, culture, myths, or personal context, which manifest in our interactions with the outside world. I would suggest that Doctor Who is the archetypal Divine Child, a childlike god who is forever young. In psychological terms, an older person who has emotionally remained an adolescent. As the fourth Doctor Who said, "There's no point being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes." Welcome to the Doctor Who Masterclass, the series in which we uncover the mythic archetype that is Doctor Who. The character's attitude and outlook have always adhered to the model of the Divine Child. Doctor Who is birthed from his mother goddess, here the TARDIS, into each new world, which they can then experience with an innocent joy and wonderment. They are in touch with their playful side and able to express their emotions and let them guide their actions. The child covets independence and freedom above all else, opposing boundaries and limits and finding restriction intolerable. Life itself is experienced as a prison. It's a powerful motif, a weak and vulnerable child thriving in a harsh world, symbolising the potential for growth and hope for the future.
Excuse me, but I'm going to have to interject here. Your interpretation of the Divine Child is extremely lacking.
What? What is the meaning of this?
You say Doctor Who embodies the traits of a pure, and I agree. But let me enlighten you as to what a Puer Aeternus really is. J.M. Barrie introduced the world to Peter Pan in 1902, and the never-ending child became a cultural icon for youthful innocence and escapism, our most prominent representation of the Divine Child. But this icon is not the pure symbol that most people ignorantly invoke it as. In 1983, Dan Kelly published a book that popularised the term Peter Pan syndrome.
Well, Peter Pan syndrome is pop psychology at best.
Yes, it is an informal term, but this is a Doctor Who YouTube video, so it'll do. The Peter Pan syndrome embodies the darker side of the child archetype. It refers to a delinquent adult with inhibited maturation. The Divine Child only breeds a man-child who refuses to grow and meet the challenges of life. Just when you think Doctor Who is finally facing an adult problem, something that will force them to re-examine the universe as something more complex and take actions that will have lasting consequences on both the wider world and their own personal growth, no. There's a magic solution and everything is fine. No need to dwell on that ever again. The ultimate fantasy of the child. As Jungian philosophist Marie-Louise von Franz puts it, one can partly foretell what a Puer Aeternus will look like and how he will feel. He has a nostalgic longing for death. He thinks of himself as being something special. He will have a problem with an aggressive, destructive shadow. He is the one sensitive being among all the other tough sheep. There is nothing special about him whatsoever. The worse the identification of the youthful god, the less individual the person, although he himself feels so special.
I think you've misunderstood the appeal of the child. As a symbol, Doctor Who represents a longing for innocence, and in that there is wisdom. Knowledge, especially of the world, can make us jaded and detached. In mythology, the Divine Child often serves as a peacemaker, uniting opposing sides for a kinder future. The two sides are caught up with their desires for power or revenge, but these are concepts that come from an adult perspective. Our Doctor Who is able to diffuse the conflict with his innocent and simplistic view. There's a beautiful paradox here of all-knowingness, but also complete innocence.
Oh, please. Many people think the Divine Child is innocent, but they mistake this intentional naivete with innocence. You know another prominent example of a pure? Someone who never grew up, who kept themselves in ignorance until all they could do was lash out at the world they couldn't interact fully with?
Please, let's not go there. It's entirely unnecessary.
That's right. Adolf Hitler. Doctor Who routinely refuses to better their understanding of the world and instead goes through life expecting everything to match up to their innocent and simplistic view. They are emotionally stunted, afraid of commitment and attachment, and so shut themselves off from meaningful interactions with the world. In this way, they can stay happily, eternally the same, safe in the knowledge that they are divine. Grow up, Doctor Who, you giant baby.
No, don't end it there.